Hey guys, tonight we are headed into a city that was built on top of something a little less solid than bedrock. Imagine your town square, your cobblestone alleys, your taverns and churches, all standing on the back of a creature so huge it has to be called myth just for the human brain to accept it. A kraken, yes, still alive, but sleeping. The people here decided that was a fine foundation for a metropolis. You probably won't survive this shift, but hey, at least you'll get a story before you're dragged under by a wandering tentacle. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, in the comments, drop where you're listening from and what time it is for you. I like seeing who else is wandering these nighttime streets with me. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You lean against the city wall, lantern in hand, boots crunching against stones slick with sea spray. It's your shift again, night watchman, sworn to patrol until dawn. The city sleeps mostly, though there are always pockets of music and arguments drifting up from windows that never close. What makes your post unique is the pulse beneath your soles. The whole place rests on the spine and flesh of a leviathan that no one dares name too loudly. They call it the foundation if they're being polite, the bed flesh when they're drunk, and the kraken only when they want to feel brave. Your lantern light quivers along the ramparts. The air smells like salt and fish guts, sharp and metallic. Somewhere in the harbor, chains clank against dock posts as boats sway on water that looks too calm for this late in the tide cycle. You know better than to trust calm water. Calm means the thing beneath the city is dreaming. Every night starts the same. You check the watch clock, make sure your spear's haft isn't split, and tighten the strap on the whistle at your throat. Not that the whistle does much, it only tells the other watchmen where to find your body. Still, routine has its comforts. You mark the start of your patrol on the slate board bolted into the wall. One neat chalk line. Watch begun. Someone tomorrow will see it, nod, and know you lasted at least long enough to write. The street lamps, fueled by whale oil, sputter like old man coffin. The mist rising off the harbor rolls up the alleys, swirls around your ankles, and makes the whole place feel like you're walking through the kraken's own breath. You wonder sometimes if it exhales through cracks in the stone, like the city itself is just its lung. No one ever answered you when you asked. The captors of the watch prefer not to speculate. Speculation leads to questions, and questions make recruits quit. As you move deeper into the district, you catch the rhythm under your feet again. It's not constant, not like a heartbeat, more like a lazy muscle twitching. Still, it has a pattern, an almost imperceptible thrum that sets your teeth on edge when you notice it. You've tried ignoring it, but then it shows up in your dreams. Like last night, when you dreamed you were standing in a room that was all ceiling, the walls breathing and a huge yellow eye half open in the dark. You don't tell the captain about those dreams either. The tower bells give a single note, low and resonant, rolling across the harbor. Midnight, officially your shift. You adjust the grip on the lantern handle, mutter something about wishing for a warmer coat, and step off the wall into the narrow lane below. It's quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel empty, just crouched. You keep your spear in your left hand, tip scraping stone now and then to remind yourself you're not invisible. The houses lean inward here, rooftops almost kissing above, windows shuttered tight. From one you hear a muffled laugh followed by a slam. Maybe a couple fighting, or maybe someone losing at dice. You think about knocking just to remind them the watch is awake, but decide against it. You're not here to referee their domestic drama. You're here to make sure nothing crawls out of the cracks. Down by the fishmonger's row, a cat streaks across your path with something limp dangling from its jaws. You flinch harder than you mean to, then chuckle to yourself. Great, scared by a cat, cracking beneath me, and I'm losing the house pets. It helps to keep your own voice around, even if it's sarcasm. The silence answers you, as if listening. Your lantern flare catches on something odd at the base of a wall, a patch of stone darker than the rest, slicker too, like oil weeping through the cracks. You crouch, bring the flame closer. It stinks, not rot exactly, but seawater that's been shut in a jar too long. The stain pulses once, faintly, like a jellyfish flexing. You mutter a curse, scrape it with the butt of your spear, and watch it ooze back into the crack it seeped from. That's new. You make a mental note. Report seepage near fishmongers. Maybe you'll even remember to write it. When you stand again, the lane feels tighter, as though the houses pressed closer while you crouched. You shake it off, move forward, and listen. The city creaks and sighs under its own weight, but sometimes when the wind drops, you swear you can hear the kraken shifting below, a long, slow sound like leather stretching. You wonder, if it ever wakes fully, does the city rise with it? Or do we all just slide screaming into the sea? Nobody answers. You reach the first checkpoint, a stone arch with carvings worn smooth by sea air. You chalk another mark, lean against the wall, and breathe. 1 hour down, countless more to go. The night is young, and the city, for now, sleeps.
The chalk still dusts your fingers as you push off the wall and step back into the lane. Your lantern flame shudders with the draft that snakes between buildings, and the mist feels thicker now, like it's congealing rather than drifting, the kind of fog that eats sound whole. Your own boots echo once, then vanish into silence, as if the stones underfoot are swallowing them. That's the thing about this city. Even when you're alone, you're never really alone. The cobblestones hum if you stop long enough. Not loud, not even audible exactly. More like when you grind your teeth and feel it up in your skull. A low vibration, steady as breath, reminding you that the kraken is down there, pressed against the foundations. Dreaming, if that's what monsters do. You crouch, lay your palm flat on the nearest stone. At first it's just cool and damp, but after a moment the rhythm arrives, slow and patient. A thud you can't call a heartbeat, it's too wide apart, too oceanic, but it's a pulse of some kind. You pull your hand back quick, flex your fingers. It always unnerves you, that feeling, like shaking hands with something asleep. The brass whistle at your throat bumps your chest as you stand. You tell yourself you'll only blow it if something actually surfaces, but the thought of shrieking into the fog just to prove you exist crosses your mind. Then you imagine the captain chewing you out for false alarm due to loneliness, and you decide to keep it quiet. You move on. The street bends toward the cliffside where the city wall overlooks the harbor. The sea is nothing but a dark sheet beyond the mist. Yet the waves have their own rhythm, matching the pulse below your feet in unsettling synchrony. It makes you wonder if the ocean is just an extension of the kraken, the whole bay a lung filling and emptying. You laugh softly at yourself. Great, now I've decided the entire ocean is one giant chest cavity. Totally fine thought for a Tuesday. Your lantern halo brushes over carvings set into the wall. Spirals, wave patterns, and half-formed tentacles left by masons centuries ago. The elders say they were decorative. You're not sure. Decoration usually doesn't flex under your hand when you trace it. Something shifts in the fog behind you. A scrape, too heavy for a cat. You freeze, listening. It stops when you stop. You force yourself to walk again, slower, waiting. 3 steps. Then another scrape, just a second too late to be your echo. You spin, spear raised, lantern thrust high. Only the fog. Your own shadow looms and shivers against it, and you almost laugh, but then the humming in the stones grows stronger under your feet. Not louder, just more insistent, like the kraken is turning in its sleep, nudging the entire city. The scrape comes again, but now it's above. You glance up and see a shutter sway on its hinge, wood gnawed at the edges like something tried chewing it. The movement's enough to convince you whatever's trailing you isn't human. Still, the rule is no running. Running makes panic spread. You breathe slow, mutter, just fog playing games, and continue down the lane. The scrape fades or blends into the stone's hum, and you can't tell which. You reach a small square, just 4 houses around a dry fountain. The fountain is carved into the shape of a kraken's beak, chipped and worn, but the water inside tremble, though there's no wind. Ripples roll outward from the center in steady pulses. You lean over and watch. The ripples don't fade, they just keep coming, like the surface itself is caught in the same rhythm as the cobblestones. A drunken voice bursts from one of the houses, muffled by wood. "Shut the hell up, it's sleeping!" Then a slam of shutters, silence again. You raise an eyebrow. Who is he yelling at? You? The kraken? Himself? You don't ask. Another minute leaning there, and you realize you'd been matching your own breathing to the water's pulse. You shake it off and push onward. The alley's narrow until you're half wedged between stone walls, lantern brushing damp brick. Here the hum is strongest. Your teeth buzz with it. Every step feels like you're walking on a giant drumhead stretched too tight. You imagine the kraken stirring, stretching one massive tentacle, and the city bouncing like a toy boat. You mutter under your breath, "Let's hope you're not in the mood for stretching tonight, big guy." At last, the lane opens into another wider street. You check the chalk mark on the wall where the last watchman passed before you. Fresh, still sharp-edged, someone came through recently. You feel a flicker of relief, proof that you're not the only idiot pacing these vibrating streets. But then, down the street, you spot something new. A crack running between cobblestones, fine as a hairline, yet it glows faintly blue like moonlight trapped in stone. You crouch, peer closer. The glow pulses in time with the hum. When you touch the edge, it's warm, almost feverish. The light inside swirls faintly as though liquid. You yank your hand back and swallow hard. This is not going in the morning report. You know better. If the captain reads mysterious blue glowing crack in the ledger, you'll either be reassigned to mucking latrines or invited to volunteer for the priest's inspection chamber. Neither option appeals. The glow fades as suddenly as it came, leaving just cold stone. You rub your palm against your coat and move on, telling yourself you imagined it. The street curves back toward the docks, where you can already smell tar and fish guts waiting. But under it all, the hum of the kraken follows, steady as always, like the city's heartbeat is not its own. The smell of tar thickens as you round the curve, lantern cutting weak arcs through fog that feels heavy enough to hold in your palm. Your boots scuff against cobbles slick with seawater and fish scales that somehow migrate this far from the actual docks. You know this stretch too well. It's where the alleys choke down to little ribs, each one reeking of yesterday's catch, where even the cats look malnourished from too much salt and too little meat. This is the first real round of the night, where your job isn't just walking, but surviving the sensation that the city is pressing in. You tilt the lantern up and see the fog crowding the eaves, making the wood drip like it's sweating. The glow circles only about 5 feet before it drowns in gray. Perfect place for something to be waiting. And it usually is. The sound derives first, a soft, irregular tapping, like claws or nails on stone. It doesn't have rhythm, not like the kraken's thrum. It stutters, hesitates, resumes. You edge forward, spear angled, telling yourself it's just some drunk banging their boots on a doorframe. Except the tapping echoes from the wrong angle, up high, where the roofs overlap. You stop under an arch between 2 buildings and let the lantern stretch upward. Fog swirls back reluctantly, revealing a ledge crusted with gall droppings. Nothing there. The tapping has already moved further down the lane, coaxing you to follow. You mutter, "Yeah, because following creepy noises into fog always works out great," and step into the next alley anyway. It's your job, after all. If you leave something scratching around up there, it might decide to scratch inside someone's home instead. The fog eats your lantern whole. Each step forward feels like peeling cloth away from your own face, always another layer, always heavier. Then suddenly you're in it, a fog-drenched court with no roof above, only mist glowing faintly with moonlight.
Your breath fogs with it, making the air feel alive. Something shifts inside the vapor. A silhouette, tall and bent, with too many angles where joints shouldn't be. You grip the spear tighter, throat dry. The figure doesn't move closer. It just tilts its head, like listening. The hum beneath your boots picks up, faint but noticeable, as though the kraken itself has noticed the encounter. You step forward, raising the lantern. "City watch!" you call, though your voice sounds small in this muffled space. If you're lost, speak. If you're lurking, don't. It's not regulation phrasing, but the fog doesn't deserve regulations. The silhouette wavers, then collapses into nothing as the mist churns. Only emptiness remains, but the tapping sound resumes behind you. You spin, nothing again, just fog, lantern light, and your own heartbeat skipping around in your chest like a loose marble. You push forward with deliberate steps, refusing to show the hesitation gnawing at your gut. The alley narrows again, and finally, blessedly, you reach the first row of lantern poles. Iron posts, each with an oil lamp locked inside wire cages, glow steadily despite the damp. Their warm halos chew holes in the fog, revealing crates, barrels, and the slick cobbles ahead. You breathe easier. The tapping has stopped, or at least hidden itself under the kraken's steady undertone. Maybe the city swallowed whatever it was. Maybe you'll convince yourself later it was nothing more than your imagination. Further along, you come to the dockfront square. Wooden stalls line the edge, shutters closed, nets hanging stiff as frozen laundry. A single lamp sways above, clicking against its chain. The water nearby laps, unnaturally slow, almost syrupy. The smell here is overpowering. Tar, salt, decay, and the unmistakable tang of squid ink. You gag once, then mutter, "Nothing like a lungful of seafood perfume to remind you you're alive." You make your circuit around the square, lantern brushing shadows. That's when you hear the whisper. Not words, just tone. Low, watery, vibrating like someone speaking through a throat full of bubbles. It rises through the storm drains at your feet, mixing with the kraken's hum until you're not sure which is which. You freeze, spear poised, straining to parse a syllable, but the sound dissolves, sinking back into the dark below. You kneel, lantern tilted toward the grate. Black water glimmers down there, faint current circling. The whisper lingers in your skull even though your ears register nothing more. It leaves you cold, fingers trembling despite the spear's firm grip. Before you can lean closer, a gull shrieks overhead, startling you upright. The bird lands on the edge of the dock, stares at you with one milky eye, then plunges its beak into the water. When it lifts, the beak drips ink instead of seawater. Thick, oily trails fall onto the planks, wriggling like worms before soaking into the wood. The gull squawks once more and flaps away, leaving the ink to vanish as though swallowed. You stare at the stain, whispering to yourself, "That's not going in the report either." The mist curls tighter around the square now, as if aware of your unease. You force your feet to move, marking the checkpoint with chalk on the dock post. The line looks shaky, like your hand didn't want to obey. You breathe deep, tasting the salt, the ink, the fog. Somewhere in the stone beneath, the kraken turns again, and the cobbles vibrate like teeth chattering. You steady the lantern, adjust the spear, and step into the next lane, leaving the dock square behind. But the echo of that whisper clings inside your chest, like seawater you accidentally swallowed, waiting to drown you later.
You leave the damp reek of the docks behind, following a crooked lane that climbs uphill, lantern held high. The fog thins here, more a veil than a blanket, though every shadow still seems to breathe with its own agenda. The stones underfoot are drier, cleaner, which tells you you're approaching the tavern district, the part of the city that never really sleeps, even when the rest does. The noise reaches you before the glow does. A scattered chorus of fiddles, off-key singing, the occasional breaking glass. The hum of the kraken beneath your boots is still there, steady and indifferent, but human noise does its best to drown it out. You mutter, "Ah, civilization, where terror gets pushed aside for ale and dice." At the end of the lane, the tavern erupts into view, lanterns strung like captured stars around its sagging frame. The signboard reads, "The Leviathan's Nap." Its paint peeling, the joke too on the nose to be funny anymore. Inside, the windows blaze orange, and the door slams open on its hinges as a patron stumbles out, laughing so hard he nearly collides with you. He smells like boiled fish and cheap spirits, tips his hat, and collapses face first into the gutter. Standard fare. You step inside, lantern raised, and the room swallows you with warmth and noise. Sawdust scatters the floor, soaking up spilled beer. The ceiling beams drip with salt from decades of fog rolling through open windows. Every table groans under mugs, dice, and bodies slouched in various stages of consciousness. A fiddler in the corner saws away, fingers nimble but strings out of tune, while a woman belts a song so loudly it drowns him out anyway. Laughter crashes through the air like waves. You don't even need to announce yourself. People notice the uniform and react in their usual ways. Some roll their eyes, some offer mock salutes, others studiously avoid looking in your direction. At the bar, old Weller polishes glasses that have no chance of ever looking clean. His beard is stained yellow from pipe smoke, and his left hand is missing 2 fingers from what he claims was a lobster misunderstanding. He squints at you, then chuckles. "Ah, our sleepless shepherd, come to make sure the flock isn't setting fire to itself again?" "Not unless you've hidden kindling under the tables," you reply, setting your lantern on the bar. He laughs, a wheezy bark. "Nah, but give 'em 2 more kegs and they'll improvise." You lean in slightly. "Anyone been muttering tonight? Strange talk, maybe about noises underground." Weller's hand pauses mid-polish. He gives you a look that's less amused. "Funny you should ask. Got a pair in the corner earlier. Swore the floorboards were breathing. Left in a hurry, didn't finish their drinks, which," he gestures toward the half-full mug still sitting abandoned, "tells you how spooked they were." You glance at the mugs. The ale inside ripples faintly, though nobody's near enough to jostle the table. Your stomach tightens. A burst of laughter distracts you. 2 men at the dice table are arguing, one swearing the other loaded the cubes with lead. Their shouts mingle with the fiddler's tune until it's a single cacophony. You let it pass, but when you turn back to Weller, his voice drops. "Word is, the dreams are getting louder," he says, eyes flicking to the floorboards. Some folks wake up gasping, swear they felt tentacles brushing their feet. You'd think it was just drink, but too many stories lately. You nod, though you don't like hearing it. You've had your own dreams, after all. You're not about to confess them in a tavern where rumors grow legs in minutes. Someone brushes your shoulder. One of the regulars, a woman with sea salt hair and a voice rough from shouting over storms. "Watchman," she says, leaning close. Her breath reeks of rum. "It's stirring. I heard it." You aren't your brow. "You heard what, exactly?" She grins, a wide, unsettling grin. "The foundation, the bed flesh, call it what you want. It's rolling in its sleep. We're ants on its skin, and sooner or later—" She trails off, wiggling her fingers like tiny legs crawling. Then she bursts out laughing, staggers back to her table, and forgets you instantly.
You exhale. People joke about the kraken plenty, but tonight the jokes have a brittle edge, like they're afraid laughter's the only thing keeping them from screaming. Weller leans closer. You be careful out there. If you feel the street shift, don't linger. Stones have been cracking more often. Could swallow a man whole. You nod. Pick up your lantern and turn toward the door. The fiddler strikes a final sour note. Mugs slam in mock applause, and the woman with salt hair yells for another round. It's just another night at the Leviathan's Nap, but the unease lingers in the air thicker than the smoke. Outside, the fog feels colder after the tavern's warmth, clinging to your coat like damp fingers. The kraken's hum is there again, steady, indifferent, louder now that you've stepped away from the din of human voices. You start back into the alleys, ears still ringing with laughter that doesn't quite sound like joy.
The tavern's laughter fades behind you, muffled by fog and distance, leaving only your own footfalls and the soft hiss of lantern flame. You know the next stop on your patrol well. It's the public well, the one every household draws from at dawn. Normally, it's just another checkpoint, another circle on your slate of duties. But lately, people whisper that the water isn't quite right. The street winds narrow, lined with shuttered shops, a cooper's, a chandler's, a seamstress whose painted sign of a needle now drips with mildew. Even closed up, the shops feel awake, watching you with their crooked windows. You mutter, "Everyone's spying, and I'm not even the most interesting thing in this city," just to hear your own voice again. You turn the last corner, and the well rises in front of you, smack in the middle of the square. A fat stone cylinder, capped with a roof of warped shingles, its bucket rope creaking idly in the damp. Around it, benches sit empty. No cats here, no drunks, just fog curling around the stones like smoke from an unseen fire. You set the lantern down on the lip, letting its glow sink into the mouth of the well. Normally, the water reflects a steady gleam, but tonight it shifts, ripples moving against no breeze. The surface rises and falls in a slow rhythm, like something far below is breathing through it. You frown, lean closer. The smell is wrong. Not the brackish tang of seawater, not the mineral bite of a well, but something thicker, like brine mixed with iron. You wrinkle your nose and whisper, "Yeah, not drinking that." The bucket rope jerks once, just a twitch, but enough to make your hand fly to the spear. You glare at it. The pulley above creaks, then stillness again. You decide to test. You lower the bucket slowly, hand over hand, the rope rasping against the wood. The air cools as it drops, damp rising up the shaft. Then, halfway down, the rope goes slack, like it's sinking into something soft. You hesitate, tug, and the bucket jerks back as though released from a grip. When you haul it up, the wood drips not water, but a slick, ink-dark liquid that gleams with shifting colors under the lantern. It runs off the staves in slow rivulets, smelling of copper and seaweed. You mutter, "Oh, that's appetizing," and tip it quickly onto the stones. The stuff pools, then slithers down between cracks, vanishing as though the ground is thirsty. The kraken's hum under your boots feels stronger now, almost like it approves. You don't like that thought at all. You hear footsteps suddenly, light, hurried. You whip around, spear angled, lantern swinging. Out of the fog comes a boy, maybe 10 years old, hair matted, eyes wide. He freezes when he sees you, like a rat caught under torchlight. "What are you doing out here?" you ask. Your voice is firmer than you feel. He doesn't answer right away. His gaze flicks to the well, then to the bucket, then back to you. Finally he whispers, "Don't drink it! Don't let them. It's not water anymore. Your stomach twists. Who told you that? He shakes his head violently. It talks if you listen. You don't want to listen. He then darts past you, disappearing into the fog so fast you wonder if he ever was really there. You stand staring at the space where he vanished, pulse racing. The hum beneath your boots presses harder, like it's echoing your heartbeat. The bucket, still dripping, creaks on its rope. You grab your lantern, scoop it up, and back away. You've done your duty, checked the well if that's what you want to call what just happened. Tomorrow morning the square will be full of housewives and servants drawing buckets. Will they notice the difference? Or will they drink and carry the kraken's dream inside them? That's not your call to make. You're just the watch. You note the detail in your mind, well water wrong, boy warned you, and you keep moving. The square's fog thickens as you leave, as though the well wants to keep you close. But you push on. The hum fades slightly, back to its usual undertone, though your hands won't stop trembling on the spear. Another corner, another street, another empty row of houses. You can't shake the boy's voice from your head. It talks if you listen. You wonder if he meant the kraken itself, or if something else is living in the water now. You decide not to wonder too long. Wondering has a way of turning into listening, and you're not ready for that. The next checkpoint waits. You set your shoulders, raise the lantern higher, and step into the fog once more.
The lane rises, climbing past a line of shuttered warehouses whose beams sag under centuries of salt air. Your lantern casts long bars of shadow against the planks, and for a moment you imagine the wood bending like ribs over your path. The hum beneath your boots is steady again, faint but insistent, like background music you can't quite tune out. You almost welcome the normalcy after the well, though your hands are still sticky from that black liquid, even after wiping them on your coat. Ahead looms the bell tower, your next checkpoint. Its silhouette stabs through fog, a crooked spine of stone topped with iron bells that haven't rung properly in decades. The priests claim the sound disturbs the foundation below, so the bells only toll in emergencies, which, of course, means if you hear them, it's already too late. You climb the steps, two at a time, lantern swaying, the air growing colder with height. The tower door yawns open, hinges rusted, wood splintered. Inside, the stairs spiral upward, narrow and slick, smelling of old guano and damp rope. You grip the rail with your free hand, the spear clattering against stone as you begin your ascent. Every tower climb feels longer than it should. The air gets thinner, quieter, until all you hear is your own breathing and the distant churn of sea against cliff. But tonight, halfway up, you hear something else, movement above. A scrape, deliberate, soft, too heavy for rats, too rhythmic to be falling stone. You freeze, listening. The sound stops as soon as you stop. The hum through the tower stones grows sharper, vibrating into your palm on the rail. You mutter under your breath, "If this is another damn cat, I'm filing for transfer." You climb again, slower this time. The scrape resumes, matching your pace. Higher, higher, until the stair opens into the bell chamber. The lantern's light pushes back fog seeping through the louvered slats. The bells hang above, blackened with age, ropes dangling like limp vines. And in the corner, something shifts. A figure, slim, hunched, just a shadow at first. Its hands glint wetly, though no water drips to the floor. You call out, voice rougher than you mean it to be. "City Watch, stand where you are!" The figure tilts its head, slow, deliberate. It makes no move toward you, no sound, just that long tilt, as if considering your shape. Your grip on the spear tightens until your knuckles ache. The lantern flare brightens as you raise it higher. For a moment, the figure seems to dissolve into fog, nothing more than a smear of shadow. Then it reforms, closer to the bells now, crouched beneath one as though sheltering. You hear a faint hiss, like steam escaping a vent, but no words.
You take one step forward. The boards creak. The hum beneath your boots thrums louder, matching your pulse. You say, "If you're hiding, don't," trying for steady authority. The figure doesn't respond. Instead, one of the bells trembles, swaying slightly, as if brushed by an invisible hand. The rope jerks once, slack snapping taut. You lunge, spear leveled, but the lantern light catches only empty air. The shadow is gone. The bell stills. The rope hangs limp again. You stand there, chest heaving, lantern rattling against its frame. The chamber feels emptier than before, though the fog presses thicker through the slats, curling around the bells in lazy spirals. Whatever was here, it's left, or it's waiting just outside the lantern's reach. You force yourself to walk the perimeter, check each corner. Nothing but bird droppings, frayed rope, and the slick sheen of damp stone. You chalk your mark on the inner wall, hands shaking enough to smear the line. When you lean against the railing, looking down at the city below, the sight doesn't comfort you. The fog is heavier now, blanketing rooftops until only chimneys poke through like gravestones. Lantern lights swim in the gray, lonely and fragile. Somewhere out there the tavern still roars. Somewhere people sleep, and beneath all of it, the kraken hums like an organ pipe, patient, endless. You descend the stairs faster than you'd like to admit, heart hammering harder with each echoing step. At the base, the street feels both safer and more dangerous at once. Safer because the shadow is gone, more dangerous because you know it's out here somewhere, drifting through the mist like a thought you can't shake. You pull your coat tighter, adjust your grip on the spear, and keep moving. The bells overhead stay silent, but you swear the rope swayed once more as you walked away.
The bell tower shrinks behind you, swallowed in fog like it was never there. You keep walking, lantern bobbing with each step, until the streets bend toward the temple quarter. The air changes here, less fish, less tar, more incense smoke that clings to the back of your throat like dust. Even in the dead of night, the priests of the kraken cult never truly sleep. Their chants ebb and flow like tides, soft as breath, but always there if you stop to listen. You'd rather not. The quarter is narrow, crowded with shrines stuffed into corners, stone slabs crusted with barnacles, shells arranged in spirals, ropes knotted into symbols nobody bothers explaining. You've never seen two shrines look alike. You've also never seen one left unguarded for long. Tonight is no exception. A figure stands beneath the biggest shrine, where a bronze relief of a tentacle curls outward like it's breaking free of the wall. He wears the brass mask, gleaming even in your weak lantern light. Smooth, featureless, with slits where eyes might be, polished so bright you see your own warped reflection. His robes trail on the damp stones, embroidered with curling patterns that don't quite repeat, like waves or veins pretending to be waves. You stop, spear angled across your chest. "Evening," you say, because silence feels worse. The priest turns slowly, mask catching your lantern's glow. His voice is low, metallic, as though the mask itself speaks. "Watchman, you walk on holy flesh." "Yeah, been doing that every night for years. Doesn't get softer." He tilts his head, considering. "It stirs. You feel it." You shift uneasily. Everyone feels it. Stones shake, teeth rattle, cats hiss. It's not news. "No," the priest says, taking one step closer. The movement is silent, robes sliding over wet cobbles. "This is different. The breathing grows shallower, the dream thinner. A body prepares to wake." You laugh softly, more to mask your nerves than anything else. "Sounds like your god needs better pillows." The mask glints. The priest doesn't laugh. "Mockery is a wall you build because you are afraid to kneel." "I'm not kneeling to something that might roll over and crush me." He doesn't argue.
He just stands there watching, the brass face unreadable. You hate how the reflection of your lantern flickers in its surface, making it look like there's fire trapped inside. Finally, he says, "When the hour comes, whistle or spear will mean nothing. Only those who learn to bow to the tide will stand. Remember this." You swallow. Is that a threat? A truth. The silence stretches until your own breath sounds too loud. Then the priest raises one hand, palm outward, fingers gloved in something that shines like wet scales. He drifts backward into the fog, robes vanishing first, mask last, until only your reflection in empty air remains. You stand alone again, the hum in the stone suddenly louder under your boots. You mutter, "Well, that was reassuring," and try to shake off the way your skin prickles where his voice brushed it. As you move on, you notice the shrines seem fresher than usual, salt sprinkled recently, barnacles still wet. People have been praying harder, or maybe they're feeding something. At the far end of the quarter, you chalk your mark on the wall, hand steadying now that the priest is gone, but his words don't leave. Shallower, thinner, a body prepares to wake. You glance once over your shoulder, half expecting the brass mask to reappear. The fog only stares back. You pull your coat tighter, adjust your lantern, and walk on.
The temple quarter tapers into a broad lane that curves downhill, opening onto the midnight marketplace. Even at this hour, the place hums like a disturbed beehive. The kraken may sleep, but commerce never does. Lanterns hang from ropes strung between crooked stalls, their light staining the fog amber. Traders shout softly. No need for volume here. Deals are whispered, not advertised. You step into the bustle, lantern swinging at your side, and the crowd ripples to let you pass. Nobody likes the watch nosing too close, but they tolerate you. After all, someone has to scare off the things that aren't human. The air smells of salt and spice, fish and mildew, candle wax and oil. Stalls groan with oddities, barnacle charms strung on gut thread, shells carved into spirals that hum faintly when held to your ear, bottles filled with liquid darker than night. You pause at one table where a woman sells kraken ink, each vial stoppered with coral. She smiles at you with too many teeth and says, "For writing letters, the sea will answer." You shake your head and move on. Another trader thrusts a charm toward you, a knotted rope crusted with dried seaweed. "Keeps the bed flesh from rolling in your sleep," he whispers. "Only 3 coppers." "I'm generous," you mutter, brushing past. You'd buy one if you thought rope knots could hold back earthquakes. The marketplace narrows between 2 rows of stalls. A boy pushes a cart stacked with starfish still twitching, calling them lucky hands. A fiddler plays a tune that has no melody, just long, droning notes that remind you too much of the hum in the stones. People bargain in hushed tones, never smiling, coins clinking like falling teeth. As you pass a table of shells, one catches your ear, literally. A low vibration pours from its spiral, a note that resonates in your skull. You flinch, pulling back, and the vendor cackles. "She likes you," he says. "Tell her I'm married," you reply, shaking your head. The man just grins, slipping the shell back into its nest of seaweed. At the far edge of the square, something new catches your eye. A stall draped in velvet, unusual for this damp city. The man behind it wears gloves, face hidden by a hood. His table holds glass jars, each one filled with pale shapes suspended in murky fluid. Tentacles, tiny but unmistakable, curling lazily as though alive. You stop. "What are those?" The hooded man's voice is smooth, too smooth.
Dream fragments, shed while the sleeper turns. They surface in cracks, in wells, in the breath between waves, collected, preserved, offered. You feel your stomach tighten. You're bottling its dreams? He doesn't answer, just slides a jar forward. Inside, the tentacle twitches once, curling toward the glass. You step back. Yeah, I'll pass. The hooded man chuckles softly. For now. He slides the jar back with care, as though it might wake something. You move on quickly, eager for distance. The crowd thins near the harbor wall where fewer lanterns hang. Here the hum underfoot is drowned by the mutter of sea beyond. Still the market noises echo behind you, chants, whispers, the faint hum of shells. You can't shake the feeling that the whole marketplace is an extension of the kraken itself, its dream leaking upward into goods and wares. You chalk your mark on the wall, then pause. Across the square, backlit by fog and lamplight, you see a shape slip between stalls, tall, bent, moving with that same awkward rhythm you glimpsed earlier. Too far to chase, too close to ignore. By the time you blink, it's gone. You exhale hard. Maybe it's the same thing from the bell tower. Maybe the city has more shadows than you care to count. Either way, you're not catching it tonight. Lantern in hand, you step past the last of the stalls, leaving the marketplace to its whispers. The hum beneath your boots resumes its place in the background, steady, patient. You mutter, "Dream fragments in jars. Sure, what could possibly go wrong?" and carry on into the fog.
The marketplace fades behind you, its murmurs swallowed by fog and distance, until all that remains is the steady tap of your boots and the faint, ocean-deep hum beneath them. This part of the patrol takes you uphill again, toward the old quarter, where the streets wind tighter, the stones older, the walls leaning close enough to touch both sides if you stretched your arms. Here, the cobbles change. They're not the usual flat gray blocks, but dark, pitted stones quarried long before your lifetime, maybe before anyone's. Tonight they look even older, veins running through them like bruises. Your lantern glow flickers across a jagged line in the street, a fissure no wider than your finger, but long, cutting through several cobbles in a row. You crouch, spear shaft balanced against your shoulder, lantern tilted down. The fissure gleams faintly, as though something beneath it glows. You press your palm flat beside it. The stone is warm, not like a hearth warmth, but feverish. And underneath, yes, there it is, the pulse, stronger than usual, beating slow but undeniable. You pull your hand back quickly, flexing your fingers as if to shake off the sensation, but curiosity needles you. You kneel again, leaning closer. The crack isn't just glowing, it's moving. A faint swell, a throb, like skin breathing. You whisper, well, that's new, though the sound of your own voice feels too loud here. Something shifts under the fissure, a ripple that travels the length of the crack. The glow brightens, then dims again in rhythm with the hum beneath your feet. You can almost imagine a gigantic vein pressing just below the surface, full of light instead of blood. The hairs rise on the back of your neck. Instinct screams at you to back away, to pretend you never saw this. And yet you stay crouched, transfixed, until the glow pulses a third time, and you swear you feel your own heartbeat sinking to it. A sudden laugh startles you, not from you, from the shadows at the corner of the lane. You whip around, spear raised, lantern swinging. There, half hidden in the fog, a figure leans against the wall. Not masked, not cloaked, just a man in ragged clothes, face smeared with soot. His grin is wide, too wide, teeth catching the lantern light. "Feels it, doesn't it?" he says, voice raw but gleeful. The bedflesh stretching, waking. "You touched it, eh?" You keep your distance. Move along, streets aren't safe at night. He cackles, doubling over, then straightening with eyes shining like wet stone. Not safe? Huh, the safest place is closest to the pulse. That way it knows you, feels you, remembers you when the rolling comes. Your grip on the spear tightens. What rolling? The man taps his temple with one filthy finger. When it shifts in full. Streets like waves, houses like ships. Those who've touched the pulse won't drown. The rest? He jerks his thumb upward, meaning sky, or maybe just gone. Then he turns, still laughing, and shuffles into the fog until only his echo remains. He stands there, lantern light trembling across cobblestones that seem too alive. You should leave. You know you should. But the fissure draws your eye again. Just one more look. You crouch, hold the lantern close. The glow pulses once more, and this time you don't just feel it. You hear it, faint and deep like a drum the size of a mountain. Your own heart stumbles to match its rhythm. You stagger back, nearly dropping the lantern. The hum beneath your boots has grown louder, the stones vibrating in sympathy. You force yourself upright, chalk your mark hastily on the wall and push forward, spear clutched tight. As you leave the fissure behind, the pulse seems to follow, echoing in your chest, like an unwelcome hitch in your heartbeat. You can't shake the thought that the ground itself remembers your touch now.
You march faster now, trying to put distance between yourself and that fissure, but the city doesn't let go so easily. The hum feels louder than before, vibrating up through your boots and into your bones. Each step seems to match it, whether you want it to or not. You mutter under your breath, just a job, just a patrol, as if words can anchor you. The streets twist downward, narrower here, the fog pooled thicker. Your lantern beam skims along walls scabbed with moss, down into gutters that gurgle faintly, even though no rain's fallen in days. The sound's off, too steady, too rhythmic. You pause at one grate, its iron bars slick with salt. Lantern light drips between them, catching a thin film of water below. You crouch, peering down, and your own reflection stares back in ripples, distorted, pulled long. At first you think it's just water. Then you hear it. A whisper. Not words, not yet, but breath shaped into sound, sliding up through the grate. You lean closer. The whisper thickens, syllables forming, though the language isn't yours. It curls around your ears like smoke, and for a second you swear you understand. Watcher, closer, closer. You lurch back, almost tipping your lantern. The whisper cuts off instantly, like it never happened. But the water keeps rippling, and you can't tell if it's from your movement or something deeper stirring. Right, you say too loudly, forcing your voice into the fog. Not creepy at all. You keep moving, but at the next grate, the sound's waiting. This one's lower, almost a groan, punctuated by wet splashes. The words slip clearer. Down here, down here. You grip your spear tighter. You know better than to answer. That doesn't stop the whisper from following, leaking up from every grate you pass. Different voices, overlapping, male, female, young, old. Some begging, some chanting, a chorus building under the streets. Finally you stop, jaw clenched. All right, you whisper. What happens if I say something? The voices hush at once. The silence is worse. You wait, lantern burning low, until your own breath sounds too loud. Then you mutter, still here. A reply, immediate and eager, rises from below. Yes! You nearly drop your spear. Well, that's enough of that, you say, straightening, forcing your boots forward with deliberate heaviness. You don't stop at the next grate, or the next, but the voices trail after you, echoing through pipes and tunnels like surf chasing a ship.
At one corner, the ground rumbles faintly. You freeze, expecting an earthquake, but it's localized, just around the grates, as though something large slid against the underside of the street. A vast inhale, a slow exhale. The sewers themselves breathing. A shadow flickers at the edge of your lantern glow. You snap your head up, spear raised, but the street's empty. Only the fog shifts, curling like smoke disturbed by movement. You hurry to the wall and mark it with chalk, the line shaky. The stone feels damp, sweat slick. You wipe your hand on your coat and force yourself forward, past another grate, whispering your name this time, your actual name. You don't look back. By the time you reach the next plaza, your shoulders ache from holding the spear too tight, your jaw sore from clenching. The whispers have thinned out into background noise, but every drain and every gutter seems to lean toward you, waiting for you to stop again. You won't. Not tonight. You lift the lantern high, muttering, "Let someone else listen tomorrow." The hum in the stones keeps time beneath your feet, and you try very hard not to think about how closely it matches your own heartbeat now.
The plaza is little more than a widening in the streets, paved with mismatched stones, most of them worn smooth by centuries of boots. At its center looms the cathedral, the tallest building in this quarter, though it looks like no god ever claimed it. The walls sag under their own weight, streaked with salt stains, the spire bent like a crooked finger pointing at nothing. Your patrol route always skirts past here, and you never like it. Tonight, it feels worse. The chains across the cathedral's great double doors glint in your lantern light. Thick iron, rusted but solid, threaded through iron loops like the city itself is holding the place shut. Someone even sealed the handles with lumps of wax, the sigils long since cracked. You step closer, boots scraping on damp stone. The chains rattle faintly, though no wind stirs. Then you hear it. Singing. Faint at first, like echoes carried through stone. Voices layered, not quite in harmony. A hymn, maybe, though the melody turns in on itself, repeating phrases like waves folding back to sea. You freeze, with one hand hovering near the door. Nobody's supposed to be inside. The cathedral's been locked for decades, abandoned after the last priest vanished. The city walled off its faith like it was a disease. And yet the voices swell, low and mournful, spilling from cracks between the doors. You whisper, "Nope, nope, not paid enough," but your boots carry you closer anyway. The lantern glow touches carvings along the doorway. You've passed them before, but never really looked. Tonight, they show clearer. Reliefs of tentacles winding through waves, each one clutching a tower, a boat, a body. The stones eroded, but the shapes remain unsettlingly alive. The singing sharpens. You tilt your ear toward the seam of the doors. Words slip through, not in your tongue, but somehow legible. Rise, turn, wake, come. You jerk back. The voices fall silent instantly, as though caught eavesdropping. Your breath steams in the air. The cathedral looms above, patient, unblinking. The chains clink once, like something nudged them from the inside. You clear your throat, trying to sound braver than you feel. "Right, enjoy choir practice," you mutter, chalking the wall with a quick mark. But as you lower your hand, a new sound threads through the silence. A child's voice. Faint, high, pleading, "Help!" You whip around, lantern sweeping the plaza. Empty. The sound comes again, and this time you know it's from inside the cathedral. You press your forehead to the cold iron, listening. The voice trembles. "Please! Cold! Dark! Please!" Every instinct says to walk away, to forget you heard it, to keep moving because the streets won't patrol themselves,
and yet your fingers graze the chain, testing the links. They're firm, but the wax seals crumble at your touch. The singing returns, louder, drowning out the child, the same words as before, overlapping, insistent. Rise, turn, wake, come. Your pulse slams in your ears. You step back, almost tripping over your own spear. Whatever's in there, you're not opening it tonight. Maybe never. You scratch a shaky chalk mark, more out of habit than duty, then retreat across the plaza without turning your back on the cathedral. The voices fade as distance grows, but the memory of that child's plea clings to you like damp air. Right, you mutter. Definitely filing for a transfer after this. The spire tilts above the fog behind you, crooked-fingered pointing, as though marking where you'll return, whether you want to or not.
You don't breathe easy until the cathedral vanishes behind a bend of buildings. Even then, the air tastes stale, as if you carried its breath with you. The route slopes down again, and soon the streets change character, the stones wider, flatter, darker. The industrial quarter. By day, this place rattles and smokes, all forges and kilns, smiths hammering until the air vibrates. At night, it slumbers like a beast chained too tight. The silence here is heavy, broken only by the occasional drip of water from unseen pipes. You angle your lantern higher. The buildings are bulkier, mostly warehouses with shuttered vents and padlocked doors. Their bricks glisten damp, sweating out the day's heat. You've always disliked this stretch. Too many shadows, too many corners where things can hide. Tonight, something is hiding. You notice it first as a stench, sharp, metallic, almost sweet. Not coal, not forge smoke, something else. You follow it to a side alley where a factory wall bulges outward, its stones cracked. On the ground beneath, a dark puddle spreads wide. You crouch, lantern close. The puddle shines thicker than water, sluggish when it shifts. For one wild second, you think it's blood. But no, too black, too oily. You prod it with your spear tip. The liquid clings, reluctant to let go, and when it finally does, it strings itself like tar. It smells of salt, and underneath that, rot. A faint hiss comes from above. You tilt the lantern up. There, seeping from a vent in the wall, is the same dark fluid, dripping steadily, like the building itself is bleeding. Each drop hits the puddle with a soft plop, sending tiny ripples outward. You whisper, "That's new." Then the puddle moves. Not from the dripping, on its own. A ripple courses through it, then another. The fluid tremble, thick surface flexing like muscle under skin. You scramble back, spear ready, lantern swinging. The puddle rises. Not much, only a few inches, but enough to show it isn't liquid at all. It holds shape, wobbling like a head lifting. A mouth forms, no lips, just a slit splitting open, and a sound oozes out. Not words, a wet sigh. You choke out a nervous laugh. You lost something? The slit stretches wider, then closes. The puddle collapses flat again, rippling until it looks inert. You stare. Part of you wants to poke it again, see if it reacts. A bigger part tells you to run. Before you can decide, another hiss joins the first, from a second vent, then a third. Soon multiple drips patter into the street. Each one forms its own tiny puddle, all shivering in rhythm.
You back away slow, then turn fast, boots splashing through shallow runoff. The stench follows, sharp and cloying. You don't stop until you're at the quarter's far edge, chest heaving. You chalk the nearest wall with shaking hands, though your mark comes out smeared. Behind you, the factories sit silent as tombs. Yet you can't shake the image of them, bleeding, all their vents weeping tar, the puddles rising like mouths waiting for the right word. You mutter, "Definitely reporting that, not that anyone will believe it." The hum in the stones thrums stronger underfoot, almost approving.
The air shifts as you climb from the industrial quarter, the taste of soot giving way to salt again. You know this part of the patrol well, where the streets buckle and lean toward the docks. The sea itself presses close here, a constant presence. Even in fog you can hear it, the hiss of waves against pilings, the hollow boom of water beneath the wooden planks. The lamps thin out, most snuffed or broken. Your lantern feels suddenly small. The docks stretch ahead like ribs of some drowned creature, wood slick with moss, ropes creaking where no wind blows. You tread carefully, boards groaning underfoot. The hum in the stones has followed you all night, but here it mingles with something else, a deeper throb, one that belongs to the water. The two rhythms clash, then overlap, until you can't tell which belongs to the kraken beneath and which to the sea itself. A splash, close. You swing your lantern. At the far end of the pier, something surfaces. Not a person, not quite. At first you see only a head, hair plastered to the skull, face pale. The figure hauls itself up onto the dock with jerky movements, water streaming off in sheets. You freeze, spear angled forward. The figure crouches, dripping, then straightens. Clothes cling to its frame, dark and ragged. Its eyes catch the lantern light, not human eyes. Too wide, the pupils long slits like a fish's. Its mouth opens and seawater pours out, splattering the boards. It stares at you, doesn't blink. You force your voice steady. "Docks are closed after dark. You'll need to move along." It tilts its head, movement strange, like a puppet learning how to turn. Then it speaks. Not in words, in a sound like waves crashing against rocks. The boards beneath your boots vibrate with it. The sea behind the figure heaves once, as though echoing. You stumble back a step. The thing mirrors you, one step forward. Your grip on the spear tightens until your knuckles ache. "All right, guess we're skipping small talk." You thrust the lantern higher. The figure flinches, hissing. For a moment you see its skin clearly, scaled in patches, gills flaring along the neck. Then it turns, too fast, and dives clean off the dock. You rush to the edge, lantern swinging over black water. Ripples spread, then vanish. No trace. Only silence. Except... No. A sound rises. All around you, from the water itself. Dozens of voices, whispering like waves through reeds. Words you can't catch, but the tone is unmistakable. Laughter. You stagger back from the pier, the boards slick beneath your boots. The whispers rise, cresting, until they sound like a crowd just beneath the surface, mocking, amused. Then, one by one, they fade, leaving only the hum of the city and your own ragged breath. You chalk the nearest piling quickly, fingers fumbling. The mark looks thin, but it's enough. You tell yourself it's enough.
As you retreat from the docks, you swear the sea itself shifts closer, waves slapping higher, as if the water is watching you go.
You climb away from the docks, boots squelching on stones slick with sea spray. Your lungs burn as though the salt water followed you inland. The streets slope toward the noble district now, where the city grows tall, where the fog thins because the wind finds its way between high walls and shuttered mansions. At first glance, it's quieter here, too quiet. Your lantern throws light across wrought iron fences and balconies heavy with rust. The houses loom above you, grand but decayed, columns leaning, roofs sagging, windows shuttered. Once nobles lived here, sipping imported wine, pretending they weren't perched above a sleeping leviathan. Now most have fled or been swallowed by the city's moods. The shells of their homes stand like mausoleums. You pass a carriage, abandoned decades ago. Its wood rotted, wheels sunken into cobblestones. A cat darts from beneath it, fur bristled, vanishing into shadow. Then you hear footsteps, not yours. You freeze, lantern lifted. The sound echoes down a side street, deliberate, slow, measured. You peer into the fog. A silhouette approaches. At first you think it's another watchman. The shape wears a long coat, broad hat, strides steady. Relief flickers, until you notice it doesn't sway like a person. No weight in its steps, no sound of leather on stone. Just a hollow clack, clack, like wood striking wood. "Evening," you call, forcing your voice casual. The figure halts. The lantern light stretches just enough to reveal a face beneath the brim. Only it isn't a face. It's a mask. A smooth mask of white porcelain, features painted faint and elegant, a blank smile. You grip your spear. "All right, costume party's over." The figure tilts its head. Then, impossibly, another shape appears behind it. Same coat, same hat, same mask. Then another, and another, until the street behind the first is crowded with them. All standing, all watching. Your skin prickles cold. You step back, raising your lantern. The light washes over the nearest mask. The painted eyes glisten as though wet. The smile curves wider. You whisper, "Not happening, not tonight." You retreat slowly, boots scraping. The figures don't follow. They don't need to. They simply stand, filling the street like chess pieces, blocking the way deeper into the district. As you back into the main avenue, the hum beneath the stones strengthens, pulsing through your knees. You dare a glance sideways. The masks remain in place, perfectly still, perfectly aligned. Then, as one, they tilt their heads in unison. A gesture so simple it chills you worse than any whisper. Your throat is dry when you mutter, "Not happening, not tonight." You scratch a chalk mark hurriedly, hand shaking so badly the line breaks. Still, it feels like the only barrier between you and them. By the time you turn the next corner, the avenue behind is empty. The masks are gone. The noble houses loom silent again, but you can't shake the sense that you've been admitted into some audience, and the curtain
hasn't finished rising.
The noble district narrows into a ridge, and beyond it the graveyard sprawls, stones jutting like broken teeth in the fog. It's the last stretch of your patrol, though no one envies you for it. Even in daylight, this cemetery feels wrong. Too crowded, the markers too close, as if the city keeps stacking its dead in tighter layers. Tonight, the fog thins enough for you to see a scatter of leaning monuments. Some toppled long ago, their carvings worn unreadable. Moss mats most of them, slick under your boots as you step between graves. The hum beneath the stones grows stronger here, a bass note reverberating through marrow. You've always thought the graveyard sat nearest the kraken's skull, though no one says it aloud. You raise your lantern. The light falls across statues, most eroded into featureless pillars. A few still hold shapes. An angel with no face, a weeping woman whose arms broke away, a knight whose sword is little more than a stub. All of them watch you in their ruined way. Then the ground shifts. Not much, only a subtle heave, as if the soil took a breath. You freeze, spear tight. The graves groan faintly, headstones tilting. You whisper, "Don't do this to me." The soil in front of you cracks. A hand thrusts out, pale, slender, fingers stiff. It grips the air like someone reaching from deep water. Then another hand breaks free. The corpse drags itself upward. Except it isn't rotted. Its skin is gray, stretched thin, its eyes cloudy but wide open. Its jaw works soundlessly, mouth trying to form words it doesn't remember. You stagger back, another grave splits open, and another. One by one, figures rise, clawing free. Their movements are clumsy but relentless. Some wear remnants of burial shrouds, others only tatters of soil. You swing your lantern wildly. The nearest corpse flinches from the light, but keeps advancing, arms outstretched. Its lips part, and at last a sound emerges, not a moan, but a low humming, the same rhythm that's been haunting your patrol. One voice, then two, then dozens. The graveyard fills with it, the dead humming in unison, joining the pulse from the stones below. Your heart thunders. You back away fast, boots slipping on moss. The dead don't chase, not exactly. They stand, swaying, voices deepening, building towards something vast. You scrape chalk against the nearest obelisk, hand frantic. The mark glows faint in the lantern light. The hum falters around you, some of the dead pausing mid-note. Enough of a chance to run. You bolt toward the far gate, not daring to look back. The humming follows, louder, layered, almost triumphant. By the time you slam against the rusted iron bars and spill into the street beyond, the sound cuts off clean. Silence. Only your breath, ragged in the fog. You lean on your spear, chest heaving, and glance behind. The graveyard lies still again, stones crooked, soil unbroken. No sign of the risen. You laugh once, bitter and breathless. Yeah, definitely quitting, first thing tomorrow. But the hum in the ground doesn't let you believe yourself. It's stronger now, synced with your heartbeat, as if the city itself is keeping pace with you. The gate clangs shut behind you, and you lean there a moment, palms pressed to cold iron, lungs scraping air like sandpaper. The graveyard looms just beyond, quiet now, but your skin knows better. You push yourself upright and start back toward the central streets, the lantern swaying, its flame jittery as if nervous too. This is supposed to be the easy part of patrol. Return to the tower, file your chalked reports, pretend someone's going to read them. Tonight the walk feels like a gauntlet.
The noble district's walls give way to narrower lanes again, tighter, darker, as though the city funnels you inward. Every sound seems magnified, the scrape of your boots, the clink of spear against stone, even the whistle of your breath. Somewhere nearby, shutters creak closed, though you never saw them open. You pass a fountain you've always hated, dry for years, its statue cracked, basin filled with debris. Tonight, water trickles. You stop, raising the lantern. Sure enough, a thin stream spills from the broken figure's mouth, collecting in the basin. The water glows faint, greenish, as though lit from below. You mutter, "That's new. That's really new." The trickle strengthens to a gush, spilling over the stone lip, streaming into the street. It hisses where it touches the cobblestones, leaving pale trails. You stumble back. The liquid isn't water, it's brine. Salt thickens in white crusts wherever it pools. You retreat quickly, careful not to let it touch your boots. The fountain groans louder behind you, spewing brine like a wound. By the time you reach a cross street, another sound joins it. Not the hum, something sharper. Bells. You freeze. Bells never ring this late. Not unless there's fire, or riot, or worse. The tolls echo unevenly, not from the watchtower, but scattered, as if different steeples ring in different rhythms. One clangs slow, another too fast, another cracked. Together, they make no sense. Your pulse skitters. You pick a direction at random, following the avenue that slopes back toward the tower. The bells follow anyway, warbling through the fog, a patchwork chorus. When you glance upward, you see them, silhouettes in belfries, not men hauling ropes, shadows swaying in the openings, bodies stretched thin, arms too long, moving in jerks. Each time they lurch, a bell rings. You quicken your pace. The tower's outline rises at last ahead, dim through fog. Relief almost makes your knees buckle. But then you notice something. The street leading to it isn't empty. Figures stand along the way, silent, spaced evenly like markers. Some wear masks like those in the noble district. Others are damp, their clothes dripping brine. One or two still carry the gray soil of the graveyard. All different, all wrong, and all of them humming. The sound threads together, vibrating in your chest. The bells keep tolling above, out of rhythm, chaotic. The hum below is steady, patient, vast. You clutch your spear tighter, whispering to no one. This is a bad idea. This is the worst idea. Yet your feet carry you forward, because there's nowhere else to go.
The tower rises like salvation. Dark stone, narrow windows, the door you've unlocked 100 nights before. Tonight it feels different, though, like it's waiting to see if you're worthy to enter. The street between you and it is still lined with figures. They don't move, don't blink, don't breathe, just hum. The same low thrum that's been rattling your bones all night. You raise the lantern. The nearest figure's face gleams in the light. Porcelain mask, smile frozen. A drip of brine slides down its chin. You swear the mask itself flexes slightly, like flesh pretending to be clay. Your throat closes, but you step forward anyway. One step, another. Your boots strike stone loud in the silence between hums. The figures don't react, just sway slightly in time with the rhythm. Halfway there, you almost believe you'll make it. Then, one of them moves, not toward you, just tilts its head. The others follow, heads angling in eerie unison. The hum shifts lower, a new chord sliding beneath. You mutter, "Yeah, that's comforting. Good job, guys.
really nailing the intimidation rehearsal. You quicken your stride. At last, the tower door looms close enough to touch. You fumble for the key, almost drop it, jam it into the lock. The figures keep humming, closer now, though you can't remember if they've stepped forward or if the street itself has shrunk. The lock clicks. You throw the door open, stumble inside, slam it shut behind you. Silence. No, not silence. The hum continues, muffled by stone, seeping through walls as if the tower itself can't keep it out. You lean against the door, lantern raised. The interior is familiar. Spiral stairs curling upward, walls etched with chalk marks from generations of watchmen. The marks pulse faintly, glowing against the dark, brighter than you've ever seen. It should reassure you. It doesn't. You start climbing. The stairs creak, the hum rising through the stone with every step. The chalk wards throb harder the higher you go, until they almost sting your eyes. At the landing halfway up, you pause. Something waits there. A chair, wooden, plain, and in it a figure slumped. You whisper, "No. No, no." It's a watchman's uniform. Yours, or near enough. The lantern at its feet has guttered to cold wax. The body's head is tilted back, face hidden in shadow. You creep closer. Your own boots echo strangely, like they belong to someone else. The body shifts suddenly, jerking upright. Its face tilts forward into lantern light. It's you. Your own face, pale, slack, eyes open and unseeing, lips twitch. Then it exhales, not words, not breath, just the hum. You stagger back, spear clattering against the stone wall. Your lantern's flame gutters dangerously. The double of you doesn't rise, doesn't follow, just sits there, mouth vibrating with the same deep rhythm. You don't wait to see more. You charge past it, nearly tripping over your own feet as you bolt up the stairs. The hum follows, bouncing between walls, growing until it's impossible to tell if it's behind you, above you, or inside your chest. At the top, the tower's final door waits. Beyond it, the watch chamber, your station, the view over the city. You slam the door open and stop dead. Because the room isn't empty.
The watch chambers should be empty. Your desk, your ledger, the window where you've leaned countless nights to watch fog roll across rooftops. Instead, lantern light spills across figures already inside. 3 of them. They stand around your desk like they own it. One has its hand on your ledger, fingers tapping as if reading. Another leans against the wall, head tilted, porcelain mask grinning. The third turns toward you the instant you enter, the painted smile catching the lantern glow. You freeze in the doorway, lungs locked, hand slick on the spear. "Nice office you've got here," you rasp, trying to sound casual. "Really should have left a note if you wanted to borrow it." The one at the desk lifts the ledger, flips a page. The sound of paper tearing shivers through you. It shouldn't sound that loud. You glance. The page glows faintly where their fingers touch, chalk marks you scribbled earlier twisting like ink bleeding. No. The figure slaps the ledger shut. The hum vibrates the wood of the desk. The one leaning on the wall steps forward. The air chills instantly. Lantern flame shrinking as though suffocated. It doesn't walk right. Too smooth, too fluid, like joints mean nothing. You raise your spear and bark, "Stay back." For once they obey. Not out of fear,
you can tell, but out of mockery. They tilt their heads, all three, perfectly in sync. Your chest tightens. The hum grows, pressing from every stone, every mark carved by centuries of watchmen. The chalk lines pulse frantic now, as if straining to hold. You stagger to the window, lantern shaking in your grip. The city sprawls below, and your stomach drops. Because every street is filled. Figures stand shoulder to shoulder, packed tighter than you've ever seen. Masks glimmer in the fog like endless moths. The noble district, the docks, the graveyard, they're all there. Every figure humming in one vast unified chorus. The sound rises up, vibrating glass, rattling the wood frame. The tower sways slightly beneath you. Your mind scrambles for logic, for procedure, anything. You whisper, "Mark the ledger, chalk the stones, keep the watch." The words feel childish, meaningless, drowned by the roar outside. The three figures in the chamber step closer. Their masks glow faint, lit from within. You lunge toward the desk, slam your spear against the wood. "This is still my post," you shout. Your voice cracks, but doesn't break. The ledger slides open by itself. Pages flutter, glowing brighter. Lines scrawl across them, without ink, without pen, marks alive, writhing, sketches of tentacles curling across margins. The hum deepens, the floor shakes. Somewhere far below, you hear it. Stones splitting, a crack, then another. You don't want to believe it, but you know. The kraken stirs. The three masked figures turn as one, gazes fixed on you, not moving, not breathing, just waiting. You grip the spear so hard your knuckles creak. The only thought left is simple, stupid, desperate. You're the watchman. You're supposed to keep it asleep. But how do you fight something that's already waking?
The ledger glows brighter, pages snapping open in a wind that isn't there. The scrolls twist into maps of the city, streets bending into coils, alleys into veins. In the center, an eye blossoms, huge, lidless, staring straight up at you from the paper. The hum rises with it, so loud now you feel it more than hear it. The tower stones quiver, mortar crumbling in faint dust. The three masked figures remain still, but their masks crack slightly, lines spreading like spiderwebs. Beneath the porcelain, something pulses. Flesh? Brine? You don't want to know. You shout just to hear your own voice. "I'm not letting you take it! This city stays put!" It sounds absurd, even to you. The hum doesn't falter. Your lantern flares suddenly, light blasting like it's burning its last. The glow pushes the figures back half a step, their masks tilting away. You seize the moment, snatch the ledger from the desk, slam it shut, and hug it to your chest. Instantly, the hum stutters. Not much, just a hitch, but enough. The figures react at last. They lunge, not walking, not running, but jerking forward like puppets yanked on strings. You bolt toward the spiral stairs, ledger under one arm, spear in your other hand. The stairwell is a storm of sound, humming, stone grinding, the bells outside still clanging wrong. You descend 2 steps at a time, half tripping, half flying. Halfway down, the slumped double of you is gone. The chair sits empty, still humming faintly like an echo of where it was. You don't dare look closer. You crash through the ground-level door and out into the street. The city isn't fog anymore, it's movement. Every figure you saw from the window has turned toward the tower, masks all tilted the same way. Their humming stops the instant you appear. The silence is worse. You clutch the ledger tighter. Then, as one, they kneel. Tens of thousands, masks bowing toward you. Not worship, recognition, submission. Your gut goes cold. The ledger throbs in your grip, alive. A whisper slides out of it, almost words, almost laughter. And beneath everything, the city groans. Cobblestones shift, fountains spew brine again, graves split again in distant cracks. The kraken is rising, not in haste, but inevitability. Each breath of the ground a tide swelling under your feet. The kneeling figures raise their heads together. The hum restarts, lower, slower, like a heartbeat sinking with the thing below. The ledger pulses harder, pages straining against your grip. You feel it tugging, not from your hands, but from your chest, from inside you, as though it's always been yours. Your mind claws for choice. Burn it, mark it, throw it down the well of the docks. None of it feels possible, because the truth's dawning clear, sharp, and merciless. You haven't been keeping the kraken asleep. You've been keeping it company. And tonight, it's wide awake.
The ledger throbs in your hands, beating like a second heart. The sound outside is unbearable. An entire city humming in unison, each masked figure vibrating with the rhythm of something too large to measure. Beneath your boots, the cobblestones shift like scales along a buried body. You stumble backward, pressing against the tower wall, lantern light flickering weakly against the sea of porcelain faces. Every single one of them has turned toward you, and though their mouths don't move, the hum pours from them anyway. It pours through you, searing, shaking loose something deep in your ribs. The ledger flares. The pages burst open without your touch, whipping in a wind that stinks of brine and grave dirt. Words scrawl themselves across the paper faster than you can read. Names, streets, fragments of prayers, but all of them collapse into one image, a spiral, endless, sinking, dragging. You shout hoarsely, "Stop! I'm not—" But the words collapse in your throat. The hum swallows everything. The crowd parts. Not with chaos, with reverence. They peel back in a line leading toward the docks, masks tilting aside, bodies bowing as though rehearsed for centuries. At the end of the lane, black water churns violently, rising and falling against stone. Waves slap the piers too high, too strong, as if the bay itself is breathing. The ledger wants you there. It tugs so hard now, your knees buckle with every step you resist. Your spear feels useless, your lantern a dying joke. You take one step forward anyway, not because you want to, because choice is gone. The ground shudders. You hear a deep crack, a sound older than any bell, older than the city. A fissure runs the length of the street, splitting between kneeling figures. Brine erupts, hot and foul, steaming in the night air. And then you feel it. The kraken. Not seen, felt. Its bulk pushing against the underside of the city like the shift of a continent. Each pulse of its heart shakes the streets. Each flex of its body bends whole neighborhoods. You realize with icy certainty the city was never built on it. The city is part of it. The ledger bursts into flame in your hands, but it doesn't burn. The fire runs over your skin cold as seawater, licking along your arms, sinking into your veins. The hum stops. Every mask turns up at once. Tens of thousands of eyes you can't see, staring through porcelain at you alone. A silence so deep it roars. And then, From the fissures, the fountains, the graves, from every crack in the city, tentacles rise. Wet, stone-black coils glistening in the lantern light, curling through streets, climbing walls, sliding around towers. Each one thicker than a street, stronger than the whole watch. They don't crush, they don't destroy, they hold, as though steadying themselves for what comes next. Your chest heaves, sweat and brine mixing on your lips. You raise the ledger, even though you don't know why. The spiral fills every page, endless, hungry. The crowd speaks, not with mouths, not with voices, but with one united thought pressed into your skull. Watchman. Your knees buckle, the ledger slams shut. The hum starts again, impossibly deep, impossibly slow. A lullaby. The tentacles ease, the ground steadies, the cracks seal with brine. The kraken settles, not sleeping, not fully awake, just listening. You collapse to the cobblestones, chest heaving, the ledger burning cold against you. The city waits, masks tilted, humming steady, as though satisfied. And you understand. You're not guarding the kraken, its chosen witness. The hum fades until it's only in your bones. The masked figures rise, dispersing silently into the fog, leaving the streets as they were, as they always will be. The ledger cools, silent now, though you know it will pulse again, tomorrow, the night after, for as long as the kraken waits. You're still the watchman, but you'll never sleep again. And now, it's time to let go of the streets, the masks, the humming that still lingers faintly in your chest. You're back here, where it's quiet, safe, and still. The lantern is dimmed, the tower stairs are behind you, and whatever stirred beneath those cobblestones is far, far away. Tonight, nothing is rising, not here, not in this calm space you've made for yourself. Take a breath, slow and easy, and feel how the tension unravels. Shoulders unclench, jaw loosens, fingers relax, no longer clinging to spear or ledger. It's just you now, listening to the quiet, listening to the soft background hum of your own room. The city will keep on without you. The kraken will sink back into its slumber, and the masks will return to their doorways. None of it needs your attention anymore. Not until tomorrow. For now, you've done enough. You've more than earned the rest. Notice the air moving in and out of your lungs. Cool on the inhale, warm on the exhale. Each breath slower, each thought softer, each worry drifting like fog dissolving in sunlight. The streets fade, the tower fade, even the hum fades until it's nothing more than the rhythm of your own breathing, steady, peaceful, familiar. You're safe here, held here, free to rest at last. So let your eyes close, let the last of the tension slip away, and let yourself drift down, slowly, gently, into the quietest corners of sleep. Sweet dreams.